rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of American Perspective. Oh, I hope everybody had a good Sunday. Unfortunately, Mrs. Whiskey is under the weather, so she came home from a trip, a short day trip, and kind of crashed out, and has been under the weather ever since. So, been helping with her and that kind of stuff. So, anyway, it's just like a cold or whatever. She'll get over it. With the right amount of drugs, she'll get over it. All right. So, we have a Democratic presidential hopeful. He would love for it to be he would love to become president, but, as a presidential candidate, one of the things that you should be able to do, besides actually being able to coherently speak in articulation and articulate proper sentences, which we found out by Kamala Harris's disastrous thing, and AOC's disastrous showing over in, I can't remember where they were. They were over in Germany or somewhere at that security conference. We now have somebody here in America that he can't articulate what his platform is. And to be honest with you, when you flip-flop so often and you're, licking your finger and putting it up to get the, the trade winds blowing kind of thing, it's not a very good look. Yeah, I know that, it's 2028, it's far off kind of thing, but seriously, I mean, he should at least have somewhat of a articulated platform to run on. This guy definitely does not. And we'll get to that in just a minute. Also, too, a surprise story that, of course, the mainstream media is going to ignore. And Bill Maher, again, he's not necessarily our friend, but when he does stuff that makes sense and actually comes off of his liberal high horse, he can make fools out of people, and we got a little bit of that as well. All right, for tonight's, you know what? Wait a second. Hold on just a second. I got to make sure that I did this right. I forgot who it was. Oh, yes, it is 3 Chevy. Okay, cool. It's 3 Chevy up for tonight's Pledge of Allegiance. I see him over in the green room. He's getting his pipes ready. And by pipes, he's checking on his fish. Anyway, so if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one like me. Place your hand over your heart and follow along in 3 Chevy as he recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And, of course, I thank you, 3 Chevy, for that wonderful rendition of the Pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the Pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting or performing the Pledge in your style. Take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, and attach it to an email, and then address that email to me. Send it off to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans FANS at AmericanPerspective.online, and I will get you into the rotation. I have 21. I'd like to have 26 by the end of 2026. So if you haven't done yours yet, please do so soon. And if you create a file and it's too big to email, you can always use one of those free versions, either Google Drive or Dropbox or Box, whatever. And you'll be able to create a link that you can send to me via email, and then I'll be able to download it and do what I need to do with it to get it on the show. And if you utilize your phone, to do this, you can use the share option. That's the SHARE share option. And you'll be able to send it off to fans at AmericanPerspective.online as well. All righty, let's get on to today's headline sponsor. I am wearing one of their fantastic men's cotton polo. This one is the Declaration of Independence that I have here, and that is none other than theflagshirt.com. That's theflagshirt.com, all one word, theflagshirt.com. You can go and check out all of their styles, men's, women's, kids, accessories, made in the USA, all of them featuring the good old red, white, and blue. And in the case of like the men's cotton polos, man, they've got historical artifacts like the Liberty Bell, like the Declaration of Independence, like the We the People, which is the Constitution of the United States, like the Lincoln Memorial, like Mount Rushmore, patriotic scenes like jets flying overhead and things of that nature. You can go and check out all of those styles, all of them, by going to theflagshirt.com. And I invite you to explore the collection of the America's 250th anniversary. They've got T-shirts that are all set up, and hats and things like that, all set up for America's 250th anniversary, because this is a great milestone, a fantastic milestone for this country. So go and check all of that out. Go to theflagshirt.com and go and check that out. And if you order $75 or more of their product, you will receive free shipping. $75 or more of their product, when you order, you'll receive free shipping. But I know not everybody can do that. Not everybody can purchase $75 or more of their product. So I'm going to help you out. If you head over to flagshirt.americanperspective.online, that's flagshirt.americanperspective.online, you will be presented with a coupon code. You can copy and paste that into the promo code box at checkout at theflagshirt.com. And at theflagshirt.com. And once you get that promo code copied and pasted into the promo code box, you'll get $5 off your order. Once again, go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online. That's flagshirt.americanperspective.online. Copy and paste the coupon code into the promo code box at checkout at theflagshirt.com and get $5 off your order on American Perspective. Go to theflagshirt.com and get yourself patriotized. All righty. Well, red flag, PSA, warning, danger, Will Robinson. Yeah, all of that. Apparently, the United States government has announced, have announced that they intercepted secret communications, that it's entirely possible that Iran may have awakened some terrorist sleeper cells. So there is apparently an encrypted, the U.S. has apparently intercepted encrypted communications believed to have originated in Iran that may serve as an operational trigger to sleeper assets outside of the country, according to a federal government alert that was sent to all kinds of law enforcement agencies. The alert, which was reviewed by ABC News, cites preliminary signals analyses of a transmission likely of Iranian origin that was relayed across multiple countries shortly after the death of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. So, yeah. We'll hopefully see what happens here. Now, keep in mind, keep your head on a swivel, folks. Keep your head on a swivel, because not just for those, but you also have things like this bombing incident that was near New York City Mayor Mamdani's home. Apparently, according to the NYPD, the two men allegedly targeted anti-Islamic protesters who were near the mayor's residence in the Upper East Side of Manhattan. And the New York City police said that the bombing, which was aimed at the protester or the protests, could be and is being investigated as an act of ISIS-inspired terrorism. So two men traveled from Pennsylvania and attempted to bring violence into New York City, Mayor Mamdani said in a March 9th press conference outside the residence. They are suspected of coming here to commit an act of terrorism. And there is video of these two individuals throwing two devices toward the protest. The police department had determined that these were improvised explosive devices, known as IED, that were designed to injure, maim, or worse. So the NYPD commissioner, Jessica Tisch, said that the suspects are expected to face federal charges, with a complaint anticipated to be unsealed. It was supposed to be unsealed today. We'll have to see if it's maybe tomorrow. I don't know. Anyway, it was written or may have been revealed after this article was written. Anyway, so yeah, keep your head on a swivel, folks. Head on a swivel for this. Now these men are, one of them 18, the other 19, so it's young kids now that are having this happen. So, yeah. So apparently the protesters were, there was about 20 of them. They were organized by the pardoned January 6th rioter, Jake Lang. It was dubbed the Stop the Islamic Takeover of New York City, and had gathered outside the residence. Roughly 125 counter-protesters were also present at the protest's peak, according to police. Tisch said, that's the, the NYPD commissioner. Tisch said that tensions escalated after a protester from Lang's group used pepper spray against the counter-protesters. Then the guy one of the suspects lit and threw an ignited device towards the protester area, which landed in a crosswalk on the East End Avenue, as shown on the New York Police Department's Argus surveillance camera network. So, there you go. Anyway, the guy who threw it allegedly fled before obtaining a second device, which he then lit before officers apprehended him. Just said that the witnesses reported seeing flames and smoke before the first device hit a barrier and extinguished itself a few feet from the officers. Preliminary bomb squad analysis determined that the devices were IEDs capable of causing serious injury or death, not hoax devices or smoke bombs. One device contained triacetone triperoxide, known as TATP, which is a volatile homemade explosive that has been used in IED attacks globally. During a subsequent investigation, NYPD detectives found a vehicle connected to the suspects on East End Avenue between 81st and 82nd. The bomb squad also discovered a third suspicious device and materials inside the car, consistent with the first two. Officers conducted limited evacuations of nearby buildings before removing the device. It was tested negative for explosive material, and residents were then allowed to return to their homes once the scene was cleared. Head on a swivel, folks. We're living in dangerous times, especially now, because we don't know, thanks to Joe Biden's screw up on the border, we don't know who has come into our country. And, of course, who is still here. Well, it's final, or, well, sort of. It's been finalized. The Iranian regime has named Khamenei's son as the new leader. And by the way, Donald Trump said earlier on March 8th that Iran's new leader is not going to last long if he is not approved by the United States. So the son has now been chosen to replace his father by a decisive vote, according to the Assembly. That's the Assembly of Experts. So he is now the third leader of the sacred system of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Islamic Republic of Iran. No, that I had to read that over again. Anyway, yeah. But what's interesting is that Iran has already come out and confirmed that the new leader is reportedly injured. I don't know how he could be. I mean, he hasn't spent very much time in Iran, according to reports. So, yeah. And by the way, the way that we kind of found out was that the AP reported a television news anchor referred to him as Janbaz, Janbaz, or wounded by the enemy in the Ramadan War, which is how the Iranian regime refers to the current conflict. So anyway, it doesn't elaborate on what is injured, but yeah, we'll just have to kind of see. This guy's definitely got a target on his back. I'm just telling you right now. As Bonnie points out in the chat. So, now this guy apparently has never held a government office, has never given any public speeches or interviews, has only a limited number of photos and videos of him have ever been published. He reportedly has grown up in the UK, which is kind of interesting. Or at least spent a lot of time there. So yeah, they've awarded somebody who doesn't know hardly anything about government or how of their government. Yeah. So there you go. Oh, we'll just see how long this guy lasts. Sincerely, how long he lasts. I'm just saying. Well, I don't know if anybody noticed, because let's be honest, it's a really short blip. But apparently, oil prices spiked above $100 a barrel for less than a few hours. And everybody on the left was going nuts. They had articles written about all of this stuff. Oh my gosh, oil is over $100 a barrel. And they freaked out. And they were saying that all things affordability is out the window, so on and so forth. You know, trying to rip on Trump, of course. Trying to rip on Trump. Well, Trump came out with the announcement that war in Iran is very complete. It's far ahead of the original schedule. He stated this, by the way, in a conversation with Weijia Zhang, CBS's senior White House correspondent. He says, I think the war is very complete, pretty much. They have no Navy, no communications. They've got no Air Force. So, yeah. CBS reporter also asked Trump whether or not he had a comment for Iran's new leader. And Trump stated, I have no message for him. None whatsoever. Okay. The president then added that the United States is very far ahead of the initial 4 to 5 week estimated timetable. And he said he's referring to Iran's military by saying they've shot everything they have to shoot and they better not try anything cute or it's going to be the end of that country. Well, what's interesting is after this announcement came, oil, the price of a barrel of oil dropped from above 100. I think it topped off at like 105, 108, something like that. And immediately dropped down to like $84 a barrel before they closed. So, temporary spikes. Yep. So, very, very interesting, to say the least. But of course, you know, the Democrats in the mainstream media, they're not going to talk about that. They're not going to talk about, because all I saw on the social medias was, you know, places like CNN going, oh my gosh, it's over $100 a barrel. The sky is falling, except for the fact that, well, you know, I seem to recall not too long ago. Yeah, not too long ago that there was this over $100 a barrel. Oh, wait a minute. What was I thinking? That was under the Biden administration. So why the hell would Democrats even care about it then at all? Oh, yeah. It also spiked pretty high under Obama too. Come to think about it. But hey, none of that's, yeah. Anyway. All right. Speaking of another story that the mainstream media is not going to talk about. Remember how Georgia had their elections files snagged by the FBI? Do you remember how this was after Georgia had announced that, hey, we had 315,000 ballots that were essentially, I don't want to call them illegally cast, but they were definitely questionable because there wasn't any verification signatures on the ballots, meaning that the poll workers that collected those 315,000 ballots, as a reminder, it was just over 11,000 that gave Biden the win in Georgia. But I digress. So that whole thing and the whole rigmarole, and everybody was all upset about, oh my gosh, you know, the FBI, they took all the ballots, they took all the Georgia stuff. Well, guess what? Same thing happened in Arizona. That's right. The FBI is expanding its criminal probe into the suspected election irregularities. They're going to call them election irregularities for now. But the FBI is expanding its criminal probe, secretly obtaining a large tranche of voting records from Arizona's largest county with a recent grand jury subpoena. Multiple people familiar with the probe told Just the News. The sources, who spoke only on condition of anonymity because of the secrecy of the grand jury probe, said that the FBI agents are receiving gigabytes of electronic election data from Maricopa County about a month after the Bureau first disclosed an investigation into election irregularities, I should say, by raiding a warehouse near Atlanta and seizing ballots from the 2020 election conducted in Fulton County, which is Georgia's largest metropolis. The subpoena itself, of course, is coming after 5 years after a GOP-led Arizona State Senate conducted a lengthy investigation into the 2020 election and concluded there were significant irregularities. Seriously, folks, I don't even know how you could sit here and say, well, yeah, there's nothing to it. 2020 was the most secure election that we ever had, but yet we have election irregularities. Got to say that twice. Irregularities all over the place. We have illegal aliens that are now being charged for voting in our elections, our federal elections, by the way, not just the ones that are voting in like the local and state, which technically they can if the state and the local elections allow it. Anyway, so, yeah. Now, the Bureau more recently apparently was alerted to a report filed by Republican and Democrat election observers who believed that they observed irregularities in November of 2024 at a warehouse in Arizona where blank and filled out absentee ballots were observed in the same location, according to sources. Now, Congress has never released that report from the staffers who were sent to observe the 2024 election in Maricopa County, which includes, of course, Arizona's largest city of Phoenix. But the House Administration Committee Chairman Brian Steele, Steil, recently hinted at the significance of the report in an interview with Just the News, No Noise television show. Now, keep in mind, the FBI is not done. Just because they hit these two cities doesn't mean that they're not planning on expanding ballot-related searches all over the place. Sources said that the FBI is likely to execute searches and subpoenas in other states beyond Georgia and Arizona in the coming weeks. Now, obviously, the Bureau has been keeping this pretty hush-hush in terms of what the full extent of the probe is going to be. But the unsealed affidavit from its raid on Fulton County Election Center made clear the Bureau is looking for a possible violation of federal laws that require election administrators to follow state laws when sending out and counting ballots. So the FBI special agent in charge, I think, Hugh Evans, told the court the Bureau has substantiated some major irregularities in how votes were counted in Georgia's largest urban area. Some of those allegations, he says, have been disproven, while some of those allegations have been substantiated, including through admissions by Fulton County. And the warrant application for Georgia is part of an FBI criminal investigation as to whether or not any improprieties were intentional acts that violated federal criminal laws. Now, being concerned about election counting in Arizona and specifically Maricopa County, that actually stretches back more than a decade as the state moved to mostly mail-in ballots. In the old days, Democrats were actually the early complainants of these, Now, the Arizona State Senate conducted a massive audit after the 2020 elections affected by COVID-19 concluded that there were irregularities. One of the Senate's most stunning findings was an estimate that more than 200,000 ballots with mismatched signatures may have been counted without being reviewed or known as cured in Maricopa County. Now, that, of course, is more than 8 times the 25,000 signature mismatches requiring curing that had been acknowledged by the county. Yeah. And the audit, by the way, did little to resolve disputes, as Democrats and Maricopa County officials argue the concerns are overblown, while Republicans say they fear there are still vulnerabilities. Those clashes will continue into the planning for the 2026 election, which is coming up right quick. Anyway, well, speaking of trying to secure our elections, Donald Trump has decided that if Congress isn't going to act, speaking of Congress, meaning John Thune isn't going to bring it to the floor, Trump basically says, hey, you know what? I'm not going to sign any bills until the SAVE Act passes in the Senate. So Trump is kind of taking a hard line here. Now, keep in mind, Trump can actually do this. It's known as the veto power. Now, there is a way to get around the veto power, except right now, there isn't a 2/3 majority in both houses in order to provide a veto-proof majority on any given issue. Because we, as of right now, the Democrats and Republicans are so divided at this point that it would take, well, let's just say an active miracle to bring enough of both sides together of both sides together in order to be able to pass something in a veto-proof majority. So Donald Trump is utilizing this now to essentially tell the Senate, hey, you guys got to get your act together. So now keep in mind the bill passed the House back in mid-February with a close 218 to 213 vote, after which House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries said the bill is not about voter identification. It's about voter suppression, which is a bunch of bullshit. Yeah. So anyway, Trump posted on Truth Social, it must be done immediately. It supersedes everything else. Must go to the front of the line. I, as president, will not sign other bills until this is passed. And not the watered-down version. Go for the gold. Must voter ID and proof of citizenship. No mail-in ballots except for the military, illness, disability, travel. No men in women's sports. No transgender mutilization for children. Do not fail. Now, why he threw in the men in women's sports and the transgender mutilization, I don't know. Or mutilation. Well, he says mutilization. But anyway, I don't know. Anyway. So now keep in mind that although the Republicans have a slight majority in the Senate, the bill itself will need 60 votes to overcome the Democrat filibuster, which John Thune does not have. And even if a few members of his party are concerned about the bill's effects. So there's been talk of changing filibuster rules in the Senate, which Trump has pushed Thune on to require Democrats to employ a talking filibuster, essentially requiring them to speak on the Senate chamber's floor continuously, and when they stop, the bill can be passed with only a simple majority of 51 votes. keep in mind, that's what they did with the 1965 Civil Rights Act. So we're just going to have to see what's going on with that. We'll just have to see what's going to happen here, because Senate Minority Leader, by the way, Chuck Schumer, on Sunday called the SAVE Act Jim Crow 2.0. He's still doing that. And he also called the president out and said, hey, if you're not going to sign any bills, then we're just going to stop everything in government. Now, I don't know about you, but me personally, I think they should stop everything in government. Go ahead. It's not like it's going to affect life outside of government. And as far as I'm concerned, yeah, a less intrusive government, especially a smaller, more limited government, is what I'm focusing on. I would love this. I would love this. I mean, I know there's some people that work in government that wouldn't want government to necessarily stop functioning, but I personally think that's the best position to be in. Anyway, speaking of positions, and no, don't go there, kids. Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom. Well, good old Gavin. Of course, we know. Come on. He's running for president. We know he's running for president. He's going to be running in 2028. He can't be governor of California anymore. So, yeah. He wants to run for president, and he's already talking about it. He's already, kind of hinting at it. Well, if I were running for president, I would certainly hopefully be able to articulate why I was running and what my goals would be. I mean, I've made them pretty clear. I've even mentioned them here, and I'm not even running for president. My goal would be to get the government back within its constitutional boundaries. Like, anything that's not listed under Article 1, Section 8 would automatically be challenged by me at the Supreme Court to say, Congress shouldn't have that. That's not a legal law. Yeah, that would spend a lot of money. I get it. But to me, well, that's what it is. Anyway, he, meaning hair gel, Newscomb, Gruesome Newscomb, was on a podcast or something, and he was asked a question. Well, if you're planning on running for the presidency, okay, and especially after you've been a governor, I mean, realistically, you would think he's been around the block on this a couple of times. You would think. And he would know kind of what he's planning on doing, or what his policy might be. What would be his one thing that he would try to go after and try to either fix or get passed or, whatever. Anyway, well, let's just see what Gruesome Newsom has to say for himself here.
What is your defined political project? Like throughout your career and like that. Right now? Like what is the thing you want to accomplish like politically?
I don't have in your life. I don't have like a brand. I don't have a tag, Make America Great, or I don't, the Great Society, or something like Medicare for all the billionaires. But but for me, no bullshit. It's just standing up for ideals, striking out against injustice. It defines my why in every way, shape, form. Stand up for ideals, strike out against injustice. I'm a Sarge Schreiber Democrat. I'm into that whole 60s, the vernacular of the 60s, solving for ignorance and poverty and disease, and the spirit of the 60s, and the spirit of King, and and how the nonviolent movement, and Gandhi, and Havel, and Mandela, that moral authority, that whole space. That's the zeitgeist. Yeah. And that's me. That's my dad. That's my mom. That's the book, and that's my why. And so standing up for ideals is what Gay Merged. It was about work I'm doing right now to sort of push back, we can lose this country, and just feeling like I have to be held to account and strike out against the injustices of the day.
So if you had to define it, like, vote
I need
for
your help
me
to define
and
it.
you get
Well, you tell
X.
me. You're better at this.
I don't know. I don't know who you. What
I
your
just gave
shit
you
is.
my why, but how do you
I'm
translate
saying-
that into human?
What? So if you say, like, make an appeal to a voter, right? Say, if you vote for me, you get X.
Yeah.
Like, what in a kind of concise, tangible sense? Talking to a regular guy.
Yeah, no.
What
And
is
this
what does that offer?
I've struggled with being able to communicate. I told you what my why is and why I'm here, and I mean that, and and that's ingrained in every aspect of my life, and it connects the dots.
He actually did say what his platform was. I don't know. You tell me. Here's everything that I am, which is nothing, a whole bunch of nebulous nothing. But why don't you tell me? You tell me what I need to be. Well, that's because Gavin Newsom is essentially one of those, lick the finger, see which way the political thing is going. That's Newsom's whole shtick. Oh, yeah, I'm fighting for injustice. I'm fighting for this. I'm fighting for that. But he has no idea how to articulate any of that. I mean, seriously. Even the people that he mentions, like Mahatma Gandhi, Václav Havel, Nelson Mandela, they all had specific ideas and goals. Every single one of them. Yeah. Okay. Why? Why would you even have, I mean, seriously, why? What is it about these people? Seriously, what is it about these Democrats? They can't answer the question. It's very reminiscent of, somebody like, let's just say this person.
Well, if anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Yeah. Sounds just like her. Talk about idiocy. Why? Why do these people even gain popularity enough to be on the national stage? I mean, straight up. Oh, I don't know. I don't understand it. It really doesn't make any sense. I mean, if somebody were to come to me, as an example, and say, well, we've heard you were talking a little bit about running for president. If you were to become president, what would you do? Well, I've already told you. I'd try everything in my power to get this country back within its constitutional boundaries. See, I'm a strict constitutionalist. I am a strict constitutionalist. And so, therefore, to me, the originalist interpretation of the Constitution, meaning going back into history, digging out things like what the war powers that were given to the President of the United States are actually supposed to be. Things like James Madison, the author, the father of the Constitution, who basically said, and I quote, the enumerated powers within the Constitution. Well, the only place where there is enumerated powers is Article 1, Section 8. Things like where people talk about, the passing of the First Amendment, it means, separation of church and state, uttered by our third president, Thomas Jefferson. However, Thomas Jefferson was not in the country at the time the Constitution was created. He was in France at the time as our emissary over there. He would have no idea necessarily of what the actual First Amendment really meant. Well, let's face it, the First Amendment wasn't actually ratified until a year later. But the idea of where the Constitution came from, so on and so forth. See, that's what I would be doing. That would be my platform. It'd be like, folks, we just need to get this country back on track. We need to get it back within its constitutional boundaries. We need to get the government to stop spending, stop taxing, stop over-regulating. You do all of that, and all of a sudden, you're going to have an incredible boom in this country. Yeah. That's what I would be running on. That would be my platform. And I'm not even running for president. I already know that I wouldn't be able to make it as a president because not very many people would actually be on board with me. I mean, I know that I might have a few supporters out there, but the fact of the matter is I wouldn't be able to get a plurality of the American people to jump on board, especially because of the fact that that means that health care is gone. Social Security would be gone. Welfare would be gone because none of that is enumerated in the Constitution as a responsibility of the federal government. And therein lies my problem. Well, it's not just Gavin Newsom who can be made to look like a fool on television. What's really fun is when it happens because of a liberal or a leftist. So Bill Maher had Adam Schiff and Don Lemon on his show. And, well, there's a few clips here that is very, very telling in terms of the intelligence level of both Adam Shifty Schiff, you know, the censured for lying, complete, utter, stupid moron there, in terms of all of that. Anyway, let's just go and take a look over here at what Bill Maher does masterfully, by the way, because Schiff is very stupid, masterfully, in terms of how to take care of, well, deal with some of the statements that have been coming from administrations.
This statement from the administration: the president had the constitutional authority to direct the use of military force because he could reasonably determine that such use of force was in the national interest. That's too vague for you?
Totally vague.
Okay, because that's from Obama about Libya.
Well, Obama made the argument initially that he could go into Syria without an authorization. I and many others pushed back on that argument. Ultimately, he did not go forward with going after Assad, even though Assad was gassing his own people, because he thought he might lose the vote in Congress. But I respect the fact that that was important to him, and the fact that he did not have the support of Congress meant that we weren't going to go forward.
Yeah. Okay. So basically what you're telling us there, Shifty Schiff, is that, well, as long as Obama was okay with what he did, that's fine. Well, a little bit later on, Shifty was actually asked about something else with regards to it. And again, I don't watch Bill Maher on a regular basis. I'm just putting it out there. I don't watch Bill Maher, but when he steps forward and is able to actually call these people on the carpet, you got to give him the airtime to be able to show how stupid these morons actually are. So here's another one of Shifty Schiff with regards to, I think this one is the State of the Union. Let's take a listen.
What did you think of the trap that Trump laid in the State of the Union address, where he, just show the tape there, because I think it's self-explanatory what he did.
If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
And the Democrats didn't stand. I mean, obviously, it's a deliberate trap, because they always played these games of Simon Says there at the State of the Union.
Well, I think you and I agree on this is all performative.
I know, but is it going to look bad in campaign ads?
I don't think anyone's going to remember that come campaign.
They will if they put it in the ad.
That
Did you catch the very end of that? That was Don Lemon, by the way. He was looking at Adam Schiff, but Don Lemon jumped in. And Don Lemon's like, "Oh, I don't think anybody's going to remember that." Really? Dan Bongino has a good theory when it comes to politics in today's day and age. It's snapshots and sound bites. Snapshots and sound bites. And believe me, that one, both is a snapshot and a sound bite, is very, very effective. Very effective. So, yeah. And by the way, they were talking about wealth taxes a little bit further on, and, wealth taxes, taxing the wealthy, so on and so forth. And I think it kind of exposed a little bit of something there as well. Take a listen.
So whether it's a wealth tax like Bernie's or it's a proposal like Ron Wyden's, I'm for it if it's going to help address this income inequality and use those resources to make the economy work for average Americans again.
But Gavin's against it.
Okay, so I'm just going to point this out. I'd like for somebody somewhere, knowledgeable person somewhere, open up the Constitution and tell me where within Article 1, Section 8, it talks about how the federal government is supposed to take money from some subsection of the of society and give it in some way to some other subsection of society. How about that? Anyway, we'll continue with this.
It's interesting that there is a split in the Democrat. I mean, Gavin Newsom's a pretty liberal guy. He's against this. I mean, billionaires, I'm a million miles from being one, so I don't give a shit what happened to them.
If you look at this in the most simplistic way, let's just be honest. If you have the opportunity to live in America where you have the privilege of becoming a billionaire,
right?
What is 5% going to?
I couldn't agree more.
Matter. So yeah.
Oh. Okay. 5%. What is 5% going to matter? Well, math is hard for these people. 5% on a billionaire. By the way, a billionaire most of the time doesn't really have an income. And they're talking about a wealth tax, 5% on his wealth. Okay. So you're going to tax him 5% on his wealth as it stands today. Then you're going to tax him 5% on his wealth as it stands a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now. Now, that individual, whoever that is, has the means necessary to leave. They have the means to leave. And this is exactly what Bill Maher points out. Take a listen.
I don't know the specifics,
but it makes the problem is, here's the argument against it. This is why Gavin Newsom is against this. It makes billionaires leave the state, and many already have. So and then the tax base actually goes down.
But where are they going to go? They're going to
Florida.
Okay, so just
Texas.
Okay. But if it's in the entire America, if it's 5% of all billionaires, where are they going to go? They're going to move to another country?
If you make it a federal law.
Yeah.
But that ain't going to happen.
And there you go. Which this is really where the truth comes into play, folks. And not only that, but how am I supposed to, you're going to tax my wealth? What if my wealth doesn't change year over year over year, but it keeps dropping year over year over year because you keep taxing me 5% on my wealth? I mean, he sat there and he was like, well, what if you make it nationally? Well, what do you think people are going to do? This is a freaking big ass world. Where do you think they're going to go? They're going to leave America. They're going to move their ass up to Canada. They're going to move to Mexico. They're going to move to, I don't know, Timbuktu or whatever. I mean, seriously. Seriously. It's just, I don't understand where these people get this, that they don't have an intelligence level here. They don't have a level of intelligence to be able to talk about this. Now, there's one more clip here that I want to play for you. And I honestly, I've forgotten as to what it's actually on, but it's, yeah, we'll see what happens with this. Yeah, here we go.
I think the reality is you have to find a way to do both stand up to Trump and also deliver for people.
Stand up, but I mean, don't you think after 10 years, it's just a little, I mean, it's a bit of an eye roll.
Well,
when people see that, they just think, that's all you got. That's all you Democrats have is fuck Trump. And we're looking for something different. It seems like Tallarico is making this case. And I think the fact that he won in Texas, I think says a lot.
Except for the fact that Tallarico only beat Jasmine Crockett. So, Bill, I'm sorry, Bill Maher. Yeah, you're failed right there. You failed on that one. But but that's the point. Bill Maher has brought up a really good point, which is essentially that this is literally, that is their platform. They are still running on the Get Trump or Stand Up to Trump campaign. And Trump is running, or did run on, and is performing the 80-20. So why is it that you guys are even going to, meaning Democrats, why is it that you guys are even sitting there and like going on and on and on about this? This is not a platform, folks. This is not a platform. And by the way, the American people recognize this because here in an NBC poll, they took a poll on this is an NBC News poll with regards to immigration and customs enforcement and its popularity versus the Democrat Party. And Americans like ICE more than they do the Democrat Party. Yeah. The Democrat, I mean, seriously. Give me just a second here. Here's the summary of images, or summary of summary of images by this. So things like, I don't know, differential, positive and negative. So Pope Leo XIV, 42 positive, 8 negative. Differential is a 34 plus 34. Here's an example. When we start going down, ICE, 38 positive, 56 negative for a negative 18 differential. But the Democrat Party, 30% positive, 20 or 52% negative for a negative 22. I mean, even Gavin Newsom by himself is higher than that. The Republican Party by itself is higher than the Democrat Party. Donald Trump by himself is higher than the Democrat Party. J.D. Vance is actually higher than Donald Trump in this list. Marco Rubio, oh my gosh, he only gets off with like a negative 7 in it. Yeah. So, yep, there you go. Yeah. Iran is the only thing in the list that posted lower than the Democrat Party. Folks, the Democrats are flailing right now. They are seriously flailing. Going down in flames. Hopefully they go down and they stay there. Alrighty, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time I go live. Also, too, don't forget, before you take off, to hit those thumbs up, thumbs downs, or in the case of 3 Chevy, thumbs sideways across all of my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, and of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.